I'd like to show you another style spring bobber. This is called the Marmooska spring bobber, and of course most of the Marmooska fishing is designed for ultralight finesse panfish type things, and the Marmooska spring bobber is a part of that type of system. This is just an extremely fine flat wire spring bobber, and what's nice about it is it's just got a simple clip on, so it's so easy to put onto the rod tip. Doesn't get much easier than this. And most people, of course, like to fish their spring bobbers off the tip of the rod. And this basically just snaps right onto the rod tip. Simple clip system. And then you take your line, of course, and run it through the grommet out at the end here. And then when a fish bites, you'll just see that spring drop down. Just real simple. And the fish have been going really good on this pink slim rat, tipped with a waxworm or two. So I'll rig that up and I'll show you how this spring works. But boy, I tell you, there's so many different spring bobbers on the market, it's hard to determine, which one is the best. You gotta just look and see what is the best for your type of fishing and your type of system. But again, this is just very, very, very sensitive for a flat wire spring, and that clip is about as simple as it gets. I'm gonna bait up and see if I catch a fish on this one. Let's give it a try. Okay, now you can see with this system just how light that spring is. Look how far that bends over. I mentioned too, and show you something, you can make your spring bobber a little stiffer just by sliding it back. Further back you go on the rod, then the less bend that there is this way. But with this type of system, I like to have that snap all the way out to the end. What's going to happen now again, a fish bites, we're just going to see that spring going up or down. If a fish picks up the bait and comes up with it, the tension will come off and the weight comes off the spring. If he goes down, well, we'll see it drop right down. They're biting very light, but they're definitely down there. Again, just watch that spring. I'm watching for an interruption in my jigging rhythm. That's a fish. If I see anything, if it pops up, goes down like that, I know I got him. There we go. There's another thing I'd like to show you here with this Marmooska spring too that you can do. Obviously the most common way to fish a spring bobber is by putting it out off of the tip of the rod, but you can also use this a little bit differently. Instead of doing the traditional way of putting this spring on and putting it out here at the end, I'm actually going to clip it here on the side of the rod. And I'm going to show you why that is in a second. Now this works especially well when you're using a really light outfit because you got a light rod tip and then you got that light spring on the end. It's hard to get a good solid hook set. But it works with any of these types of systems. What I'm doing is I'm running the line here. I'm going to come out through the second guide. Then I'm going to bring it through the Marmooska spring bobber. Grommet in the end, then go back to the guides here. Now what happens is I can actually run this out, bend it out to the outside, and jig. And now what happens when a fish bites here is it simply brings that spring right back to the rod itself. Okay, so there you can see it bent out. Now when a fish bites and that line goes tight, the spring just comes up against the rod. Again, an extremely sensitive light bite detection system. But now I've got nothing out at the end of the rod that's impeding my hook set. And that's especially important if I'm fishing for bigger fish or if I'm using, again, a really ultralight type rod where the tip is so light and then have a light spring on the end. It's hard to get a good hook set. This way, you can actually pick it up. It's a little non-conformist way of fishing a spring bobber, but it really, really works well. And it's a tip that a lot of people, I think, should give a try. You'll see that spring either drop down or get drawn up toward the rod. Now it went drop down a little bit, and there he is. I see that nice little motion that I'm jigging, and it comes up flat against the blank. That's the strike.